Hello and welcome back to the deep dive. Today we are going on a journey. And
Hmm.
I don't mean a metaphorical journey of self-discovery though. Honestly, if we do this right, we might have a few of those realizations along the way.
It's pretty much guaranteed,
I mean,
yeah.
a literal transcontinental pack your bags, double check your passport, and definitely bring your bug spray kind of journey.
It's quite the itinerary. We're essentially traversing the entire vertical length of the Western Hemisphere.
The whole thing.
The whole thing. We are starting at the frozen roof of the world, dropping down through, the spine of the Americas,
Yeah.
crossing the equator.
And then
Just for good measure, we're taking a massive detour across the Pacific to Australia.
And our guide for this massive trek is the Smithsonian Children's Illustrated Animal Atlas.
Right.
Now, before anyone rolls their eyes at the word children's, let's be real for a second. Sometimes the best way to understand really complex systems is to just strip away all the academic jargon.
Absolutely. Get back to basics. You look at the raw maps and the creatures living on them, and it all starts to make sense.
The level of detail here is fantastic because it just highlights the fundamental rule of biology, which is geography is destiny.
That's it. That's the whole show.
Mm.
We aren't just here to, list animals like it's a roll call.
No.
We're here to explore the mission
Mhm.
of this deep dive, which is to really understand how the land and the climate dictate an animal's entire survival strategy.
Exactly. It's the why. Why does a frog in the Andes look like it's wearing a suit that's 3 sizes too big?
Right.
Or why does a bird in the Caribbean inflate its throat like a giant red balloon? It's not random. None of it is.
No, it is a direct response to a very specific problem posed by the environment.
And to understand those problems, you have to look at the playing field.
Hmm.
The source material breaks the world down using these invisible lines.
Mhm.
You know them from, looking at a globe, but ecologically, they're like walls.
Yeah, they are climate walls. We're talking about the climate zones.
Right. So you have the equator, obviously, the belt of the world.
That's the engine of heat. Is where the sun hits most directly, and that drives this massive evaporation that creates the rainforests.
And then flanking that, you've got the tropics.
Cancer to the north, Capricorn to the south.
So that whole area between Cancer and Capricorn, that's the tropical zone.
Yes, hot, wet, just teeming with life. But the second you cross those lines, you hit the temperate zones.
And that's where things get complicated.
That's where seasonality kicks in, summer, winter, spring, fall. The challenge there isn't just surviving heat or surviving cold, it's surviving change.
Constant change. And then you have the final frontier, the polar circles.
The Arctic and the Antarctic. This
Yeah.
is the threshold of the extreme.
Yeah.
Beyond those lines, the temperate world just ends. It becomes dry, becomes dark for half the year, and it becomes lethally cold.
Okay, so keeping those 3 zones in mind, tropical, temperate, and polar, we are going to start at the very top, the northern extremes. We are dropping into the taiga and the tundra.
And this is a landscape that, it actively tries to kill you. The taiga is this massive, continuous ring of coniferous forests.
The evergreens.
The evergreens, yeah, stretching all the way across Alaska and Canada.
And the source notes that summer here, and I'm using air quotes, summer peaks at only about 50 degrees Fahrenheit. That's 10 degrees Celsius.
That's the high.
That's the warmest it gets. That's a chilly autumn day where I live.
And that window of warmth is so incredibly short. The rest of the year is just dominated by snow and sub-zero temperatures. So biologically, you really only have 2 choices.
You leave or you adapt.
You leave or you become a tank.
Let's talk about the tanks, the ones who stay. You can't even picture the taiga without seeing the moose.
The true giant of the north. And the source makes a comparison that I think is just vital for visualization.
I know which one you mean. A moose can weigh as much as a car.
As much as a car. And you need to really pause and picture that. We're not talking about a little compact car. We're talking about a sedan just walking through the woods.
But why? I mean, why be that big in a place where food, which is mostly twigs and bark, is relatively scarce?
It all comes down to heat. It's a principle. It's called Bergmann's rule. Generally, in colder climates, animals get bigger.
Okay.
A larger body mass just retains heat way better than a small one. If you are the size of a car, you have this massive internal furnace that takes a very, very long time to cool down.
So they're not just big lumbering lumps. They can move.
Oh, they are shockingly fast. The source says they can trot at 20 miles per hour. That's 32 kilometers per hour.
And that's a trot. That's not even a full sprint.
That's their casual pace. Imagine a Honda Civic with legs just, jogging after you through a forest.
And the legs themselves are a key adaptation, right?
They're crucial. They are incredibly long.
Yeah.
And this isn't just for height to see over things, it's for clearance.
Clearance from what?
From the snow. Think about a wolf or a deer. They have to plow through deep snow, which burns a ton of energy. It's exhausting. A moose just steps over it. They are built for the terrain in a way that their predators just aren't.
Well, speaking of predators, let's talk about the gray wolf.
The largest wild member of the dog family. And you're right, they can't step over the snow like a moose can, but they have their own set of adaptations.
The source highlights their fur, the variety in colors, black, white, tan, gray. Is that just, for looks, or is there a function there?
It's largely about camouflage and genetic diversity, but in the high north,
Yeah.
what really matters is that thick, multi-layered coat.
Hmm.
But their real advantage is social,
The pack.
the pack. They rely on complex pack dynamics to coordinate and take down prey as large as a moose. It's a classic evolutionary arms race.
Oh, so.
The moose gets bigger and taller to conserve heat and avoid the snow, so the wolf has to get smarter and more coordinated to hunt it.
Now, there's another predator here that hunts alone, and honestly, the mechanics of it are kind of terrifying to me. The great gray owl.
Ah, the Phantom of the North. It's the tallest owl in North America with a wingspan of 5 feet. Just huge.
But here's the problem I have with it. The taiga is covered in snow. All its prey mice, voles, shrews, they're living in tunnels under the snow. They're completely invisible.
Right.
So how does a bird sitting 30 feet up in a tree catch a mouse that it literally cannot see?
This is where anatomy becomes a superpower. You see that big, flat circle of feathers on its face, the facial disc.
Yeah, it looks like a satellite dish.
That is exactly what it is. And it's not soft. Those feathers are stiff. They act as a funnel, directing every tiny sound directly into its ear canals. But that's only part of the trick.
What's the real trick?
Their ears aren't symmetrical.
What do you mean?
One ear is physically higher on its skull than the other. They're lopsided.
No way. Why?
It allows for vertical triangulation. See, most animals can tell if a sound is coming from the left or the right. That's horizontal. The great gray owl can process the microsecond delay between the sound hitting the high ear and the low ear.
So it can tell how deep the sound is.
Exactly. It can pinpoint the exact depth and location of a mouse rustling under 2 feet of snow. It's creating a three-dimensional acoustic map of the world beneath the snow.
So when it dives.
It is not guessing. It's a calculated strike. It plunges feet first, its talons extended, and it punches right through the ice crust of the snow, which can sometimes be hard enough for a human to walk on,
Yeah.
to grab a mouse it never once saw with its eyes.
That's basically a guided missile strike based entirely on sound.
It's one of the most incredible hunting adaptations in nature.
That is wild.
Yeah.
Now, we mentioned that some animals choose not to fight the cold. They leave.
Wow.
The migration strategy.
Right. Avoidance. The snow geese are the classic example. The source describes them turning entire green fields white when they land.
It must be an incredible sight.
It is. They exploit the brief Arctic summer to breed. At that time, insects and plants are just exploding with life. And then just before the freeze comes and kills everything, they fly south. It's a brilliant strategy of just not dealing with the problem.
Before we leave the north, I have to correct a misconception I had, and I think a lot of people probably have this. Looking at the map, I saw sea otter near the coast and North American beaver inland. I always kind of conflate them in my head. The dam builder is the beaver, right?
Correct. The North American beaver is the freshwater engineer. They have the flat, paddle-like tail and those iron-rich orange teeth that can actually fell trees to build dams and lodges. They literally create their own ecosystem.
And the sea otter.
A completely different lifestyle. They are marine. They live in the coastal ocean, not rivers. And their survival challenge is totally unique.
Which is the cold water.
The freezing cold water. Now
Right.
think about whales and seals. They use blubber, a thick layer of fat, to stay warm.
Right.
But sea otters hunt things like sea urchins and crabs on the seafloor. They need to be agile. They need to dive and twist and turn. Blubber is heavy and stiff. It would make them clumsy.
So if they don't have blubber, how do they not freeze to death in Alaskan waters?
Fur. They have the densest fur in the entire animal kingdom. We're talking up to 1 million hairs per square inch.
1 million per square inch.
It is so unbelievably dense that water literally cannot touch their skin.
So how does that work?
They trap a tiny layer of air right against their body. So they're effectively wearing a custom-fit dry suit made of air, keeping them warm and buoyant.
But that sounds like it would require a lot of work.
Constant maintenance. If that fur gets dirty or matted with something like oil, the seal breaks, water gets to their skin, and they can die of hypothermia very quickly. That's why you always see them grooming. It's not vanity. It's life or death survival.
Okay, let's thaw it a bit. We're moving south, down from that evergreen shield into the heart of the continent, the Great Plains.
The Sea of Grass. This is our first look at a temperate grassland. Geographically, we're looking at the center of North America, from Canada all the way down to Texas, squeezed between the Rocky Mountains and the Mississippi River.
And if the theme of the taiga was cold, the theme here has to be exposure.
Absolutely. There's nowhere to hide. It's just flat, open space.
Yep.
And that dictates the body shape and strategy of every animal living there.
Let's start with the heavyweights. The American bison.
Often called the buffalo.
Right. Colloquially, though they're distinct from the true buffalo of Africa or Asia, this is the heaviest land animal in North America.
They're just massive, shaggy tanks.
Yeah.
And their defense strategy is beautifully simple.
Mm.
Be too big and too strong to attack. They stand their ground.
But then you have their neighbor who took the complete and total opposite evolutionary path, the pronghorn.
Racer. The pronghorn is this deer-like antelope that looks like it was designed in a wind tunnel. Everything about it is built for speed.
The stats on this are just mind-blowing. The source says they can see predators from 4 miles away.
Telescopic vision. Their eyes are huge for their skull size.
And they can run. I mean, they can really run.
They're the second fastest land animal in the world, right behind the cheetah. But here's the really interesting thing. A cheetah is a sprinter. It's all out for a few hundred yards and then it gasses out. A pronghorn can sustain high speeds. We're talking 30, 40 miles per hour for miles and miles. It has incredible endurance.
But why? I mean, there's no predator in North America today that can chase them like that. A wolf is an endurance hunter, but they aren't that fast.
And that's the fascinating part. It's what biologists call an evolutionary ghost.
A ghost.
The pronghorn evolved alongside the now extinct American cheetah. That predator is gone, but the pronghorn still has the Ferrari engine it built to outrun it. They are completely over-engineered for the modern world.
So they're running from a ghost. That is incredible. Now, not everyone runs. Some dig. We have to talk about the towns.
But black-tailed prairie dog. And these aren't just holes in the ground, they are subterranean cities. We're talking complex networks of tunnels and chambers.
And their social structure is incredibly complex. The source mentions they kiss when they meet each other.
Yeah, it's an identification behavior. They touch their teeth together to recognize family members from strangers. But their most impressive adaptation by far is their language.
We're actually calling it a language.
It borders on it. It's one of the most complex communication systems outside of primates. They have distinct alarm calls.
For what?
For different predators. If a coyote approaches on the ground, the call is specific. Ground predator, alert. But if a hawk dives from the sky, the call is completely different. Air predator, take cover immediately.
So they can differentiate between the types of threats.
They have to. The correct reaction to a hawk is to dive into the nearest hole. The correct reaction to a coyote is to stand up, watch it, and communicate its location to the colony. If you dive for everything, you never get to eat.
Speaking of the coyote, they are all over this map.
They're the ultimate opportunist. While the wolf creates this strict pack hierarchy to hunt massive prey like elk, the coyote is flexible. They hunt alone, they hunt in pairs, they eat fruit, they eat carrion, they eat rodents.
That flexibility is why they thrive.
It's why they thrive while so many other predators struggle. They're not picky.
And we can't forget the swift fox.
A beautiful little animal. Cat-sized, strictly nocturnal, and incredibly fast.
Yeah.
It can hit 30 miles per hour. It avoids the heat of the day and the competition of the larger predators by just owning the night.
There's also a bird here that brings a bit of theater to the plains, the greater prairie chicken.
The mating rituals here are just intense. The males gather on these display grounds called leks. They have these bright orange sacs on their necks.
Yeah.
And they inflate them, raise these horn-like feathers on their head, and stomp the ground while making this deep, booming sound that travels for miles. In a landscape of flat grass, you have to be big and loud to get noticed.
And slithering through all that grass, the prairie rattlesnake.
Right. Now, people hear the rattle and they feel fear. But ecologically, the rattle is an act of benevolence.
Benevolence. That seems like a stretch.
I mean it. Venom is biologically very expensive to produce. It takes a lot of energy. The snake doesn't want to waste it on you. You're not food. It wants to eat a mouse. If it bites you in self-defense, it might be out of ammo for its next meal. So the rattle is a highly evolved warning system. It's the snake saying, hey, I'm here, I'm dangerous, please. Let's just avoid a conflict. Walk around me.
It's conflict avoidance. That's a great way to put it. Okay, let's shift east. The eastern forests.
We're moving into the deciduous woodlands, the trees that drop their leaves.
And that creates a completely different ecosystem. Those falling leaves rot, they create this rich soil which supports a dense undergrowth. But the defining feature of this region today is its proximity to humans.
Right. These are the urban adapters.
Exactly, starting with the northern raccoon,
The trash panda.
the trash panda. But think for a second about the intelligence required to systematically figure out how to open an animal-proof trash can.
They have those little hands?
They have a dexterous front paws that function almost like human hands, and they're opportunistic omnivores. Nuts, berries, insects, day-old pizza crusts. They survive because they are not picky and they are incredibly smart. And then there's the gray squirrel. We see them so often we barely even notice them, but they are athletic freaks.
They are absolute acrobats. The source notes their double-jointed ankles. Next time you see a squirrel coming down a tree, notice it's coming down head first.
I've never thought about that.
A cat can't do that. A cat gets stuck coming down a tree. The squirrel can rotate its hind feet a full 180 degrees to grip the bark while facing down. It's an incredible anatomical trick.
And their teeth.
Indestructible because they never stop growing. They're constantly growing like fingernails. They have to gnaw on hard nuts and bark just to file them down.
Wow.
If they stopped chewing, their incisors would eventually grow into their own skulls.
Yikes. Okay, then there's the Virginia opossum, North America's only marsupial.
Right, which means they raise their young in a pouch, just like a kangaroo. But their defense mechanism is the real showstopper, playing dead.
But playing implies they're acting.
And that's a common misconception. It's not an act. It is a completely involuntary physiological response to extreme terror. They basically go into a catatonic coma.
So what happens to their body?
Their heart rate plummets, their breathing becomes incredibly shallow, their body goes limp, and they even emit a foul-smelling liquid from their anal glands that mimics the smell of decay.
So the predator comes up, sniffs them, and thinks, ugh, this thing is spoiled, no thanks.
Exactly. It becomes completely unappetizing. The predator moves on, and hours later, the source says up to 4 hours later, the opossum just wakes up and waddles away.
Incredible. All right, let's head back west, but we're going to skip the mountains for a second to hit the dry zones, the western deserts. We've got the Great Basin, Mojave, Sonoran, Chihuahuan.
The challenge here is brutally simple. Water scarcity and extreme temperature swings. They can be 100 degrees during the day and drop to freezing at night.
So survival is all about managing water and temperature. Let's look at the Merriam's kangaroo rat.
This little rodent is the absolute master of water economics. The source states it never drinks water,
Never.
never drinks standing water in its entire life.
So how does it live?
It gets all the moisture it needs from the dry seeds it eats through metabolic processes. And its kidneys are hyper efficient, so efficient that its urine is almost a solid paste. It wastes nothing, not a single molecule of water.
That is just peak efficiency. Then you have the Mojave Desert tortoise.
Their strategy is behavioral. They basically just don't deal with the summer at all.
What do?
They dig these deep burrows to escape the heat, and they spend up to 95% of the hot season underground in a state of estivation, which is like hibernation for heat. They are time travelers, just skipping the lethal parts of the year.
Speed is another way to cope. The black-tailed jackrabbit.
And the first thing you notice are the ears. They are huge. Yes, they help it hear well, but those ears are full of blood vessels. They're radiators.
Radiators.
When the desert wind blows over them, it cools the blood circulating through them, which in turn cools the entire body. And if that fails, they run 30 miles per hour with 20-foot leaps to escape predators.
Like the puma, also known as the cougar or mountain lion.
The apex predator of this region. They are the great generalists of the West. They can swim, jump, climb. They have to patrol massive territories because prey is so scarce in the desert.
And we have to talk about the roadrunner, the real bird, not the cartoon.
Very real and very, very tough. The greater roadrunner. They can run at about 18 miles per hour. And their diet is just metal. They are one of the few animals that actively hunts and eats rattlesnakes.
They hunt venomous snakes.
They are incredibly agile. They use their wings to feint and dodge the snake's strike. Then they grab the snake right behind the head with their beak and just thrash it against a rock until it's dead.
Remind me not to mess with a roadrunner. Now, speaking of things that want to bite you, the desert blonde tarantula.
A giant, beautiful spider. But what I love about the detail in the source here is that they're also engineers. They line their burrows with silk.
As a trap?
No, not a trap for prey. It's for structural reinforcement.
Yeah.
They live in sandy soil. The silk acts like a web of rebar, shoring up the walls so their home doesn't collapse on them during a rainstorm.
A spider architect. Okay, let's leave all that dust behind and go to the water. We are flying to the southeast tip of the U.S., the Florida Everglades.
The river of grass. And it's really crucial to understand that phrase. This isn't a stagnant swamp. It is a very wide, very shallow, and very slow-moving river that flows south from Lake Okeechobee to the Florida Bay.
And it is the site of a legendary reptilian standoff. The source says this is the only place in the world where alligators and crocodiles coexist in the wild.
That's right. You have the American alligator and the much rarer American crocodile.
So how do we tell them apart before one of them eats us?
The easiest way is to look at the snout and the teeth. The alligator has a very broad U-shaped snout, like a shovel. And when it closes its mouth, the upper jaw completely covers the lower teeth. It's a cleaner look.
And the croc?
The crocodile has a much narrower, pointier, V-shaped snout. And this is the giveaway. When it closes its mouth, the fourth tooth on the bottom jaw sticks up outside the upper lip. It's got this snaggle-toothed grin. It looks much more prehistoric and menacing.
There's another predator here, a mammal, that is just hanging on by a thread. The Florida panther.
Yeah, this one is tough. There are fewer than 100 left in the wild. They're technically a subspecies of the cougar we just saw in the desert.
Yeah.
But they've adapted to this humid, swampy environment.
And what's the problem?
They're isolated on that southern tip of Florida, suffering from habitat loss and a severe genetic bottleneck. They are truly the ghost of the Everglades.
The water itself is dangerous, even if you're not an alligator. The common snapping turtle.
The turtle with a really bad attitude. They don't have teeth in the traditional sense, but they have this sharp hook beak that acts like a pair of bolt cutters. The source explicitly mentions they can bite the heads off other turtles.
That is a vivid description.
It's their whole defense mechanism. Most turtles hide in their shell, but snapping turtles have a relatively small shell. They can't fully tuck themselves in, so their defense is a good offense. I will bite you before you can bite me.
Let's look up at the birds. The snail kite is a fascinating one.
This is a classic example of a risky evolutionary bet. The snail kite has this long, deeply curved bill that is designed for one thing and one thing only.
Which is?
Hooking into the shell of the apple snail and perfectly pulling out the meat. It eats almost nothing else.
So if something happens to the apple snail population...
The kite dies off. It's the profound danger of over-specialization. You compare that to the raccoon, who eats anything from a berry to a hot dog. The kite is a master of one trade, but that makes it incredibly vulnerable.
Before we swim south, one last amphibian. The green tree frog.
A small, cute little thing. It changes color from green to khaki to blend in. But its defense is just pure shock value. If a predator picks it up, it screams.
It screams like a person.
It's a startling high-pitched noise. The goal isn't to hurt the predator. The goal is just to surprise it for a split second to make it flinch and hopefully drop the frog.
A scream of, "Put me down!"
All right, let's cross the Caribbean Sea. We are heading to the tropical bridge, Central America. This narrow strip of land is a vital biological corridor. It's the bridge that connects the two massive continents of North and South America. It's a mixing zone, and it's defined by the rainforest canopy.
Life in the penthouse. And you have to start with the resplendent quetzal.
A candidate for the most beautiful bird in the world. The male has these iridescent green tail feathers that are longer than its entire body. It was a sacred bird to the Maya and the Aztec.
And then there's the sloth. The Hoffman's two-toed sloth.
The ultimate energy conservationist. We call them lazy, but they are actually geniuses of efficiency. The leaves they eat don't provide much energy, so the sloth's entire strategy is to move so slowly that it burns almost nothing.
They spend their whole lives upside down.
Upside down.
Yeah.
And they're ecosystems unto themselves.
What do you mean by that?
Algae literally grows on their fur, which turns them green and gives them camouflage from predators like the harpy eagle. Moths live in their fur. They are a walking, very slow-moving planet.
Okay, let's hop over to the islands. The Caribbean, 7,000 of them.
And islands are evolutionary laboratories. When animals get stranded on an island, isolated from the mainland, weird things start to happen over time.
Like the Cuban crocodile.
Which is critically endangered. And it has these weirdly blunt teeth in the back of its jaw. Why? Because it evolved on an island full of turtles. It's a specialist in crushing turtle shells.
And the Hispaniolan Solenodon.
This is a creature straight out of the dinosaur era. A living fossil. It looks like a long-nosed shrew, but it is one of the very few venomous mammals on Earth.
Venomous mammals. That just sounds wrong.
It's so rare. It has these grooved incisor teeth that inject a neurotoxic venom into its prey, mostly insects and small lizards. On an island where you need every possible advantage to survive, it works.
And then the vampire, the common vampire bat.
Not a myth. It's very real and it drinks blood. But the mechanics are what's really fascinating. They don't just land on a cow and bite it. They land near a sleeping animal, like a cow or a tapir, and they creep up on the ground using their thumbs as little feet. Then they use their heat-sensing nose to find a spot where blood is close to the surface, and they make a tiny, painless incision with their sharp teeth.
Does the animal wake up?
Almost never, because the bat's saliva is a chemical cocktail. It has an anesthetic to numb the pain and a powerful anticoagulant called dryculin to stop the blood from clotting. The bat doesn't suck the blood, it just laps up the flow. It's a triumph of chemical warfare.
Okay, we are now entering the heavyweight division of biodiversity, the Amazon.
The lungs of the earth. The largest rainforest, the largest river system by volume, it produces 20% of the planet's oxygen. The scale is almost impossible to comprehend.
And the river monsters here are real. Let's start with the electric eel.
Which, to be technical, isn't actually an eel. It's a type of knife fish. But let's pause on the electricity. This isn't little static shocks. This is 600 to 800 volts.
How does a fish become a living battery?
About 80% of its body is devoted to 3 pairs of organs made of specialized cells called electrocytes. They're stacked like the plates in a car battery. When the eel wants to attack, it discharges them all at once.
Does it shock itself?
No, its vital organs are heavily insulated, but it shocks everything else. It uses a low-voltage pulse to navigate, like a kind of radar, and the high-voltage pulse to hunt. It can even remotely control the nervous system of its prey.
What? How?
It can send out a pulse that forces the prey's muscles to cramp and twitch, revealing its location, and then hit it with the full-power stun. It's terrifyingly sophisticated.
What about the piranha, the movie monster?
The red-bellied piranha.
Yeah.
Yes, they have razor-sharp interlocking teeth, but they're mostly scavengers or they eat insects in smaller flesh. The skeleton in seconds frenzy is extremely rare. It usually only happens when a huge school is starving and trapped in a rapidly drying pool.
On land, the undisputed king is the jaguar.
The Amazon is a tough place to hunt. It's dense, it's dark. The jaguar is built for it. It's stocky, immensely powerful, and it loves water. But its kill method is what makes it unique.
Go on.
Most big cats, lions, tigers, they bite the throat to suffocate their prey. The jaguar bites the skull.
Straight through the bone.
Straight through the skull. Its bite force is the strongest of any cat, pound for pound. It can crunch through the skulls of caimans and the thick shells of river turtles. It is an armor-piercing predator.
And the small stuff is just as scary, the army ant.
They are less an animal and more a force of nature. Superorganism. They don't build permanent nests. They are nomads. They move in a swarm of up to 200,000 ants.
And they eat what?
Everything. They simply overwhelm anything in their path that can't get away. Spiders, scorpions, lizards, other insects. If you can't fly to run fast enough, the swarm consumes you.
And the giants, the Goliath bird eater.
The heaviest spider in the world by mass. It can, on occasion, eat birds, but its name is a bit of an exaggeration. It mostly eats worms and insects. But the fact that a spider exists that is big enough to even consider tackling a hummingbird says everything you need to know about the Amazon.
Okay, let's start to climb. We are leaving the jungle floor for the thin air, the Andes Mountains.
The longest continental mountain range in the world. And the challenge here is singular. Hypoxia, a severe lack of oxygen.
So how does an animal like the vicuña survive at 16,000 feet?
The vicuña, a wild relative of the llama, has this incredibly fine wool for the cold, some of the most valuable fiber in the world. But its real secret is in its blood.
How so?
It has a very high count of red blood cells, and those cells are packed with a special type of hemoglobin that is exceptionally good at grabbing onto oxygen molecules even when they are scarce in the thin air.
And the Andean goose.
The same strategy, just in a bird. Its hemoglobin binds to oxygen far more efficiently than that of a lowland goose. It allows it to fly vigorously in an atmosphere that would make a human pass out from just walking.
Then there are the frogs. The Titicaca water frog is something else.
It looks melted. It has these huge, excessive folds of baggy skin all over its body.
Yeah, it looks like it's wearing a suit that's way too big for it.
And that's exactly what it is. But that skin is its lifeline. Frogs breathe through their skin. In the cold, oxygen-poor waters of Lake Titicaca, all that extra baggy skin dramatically increases its surface area, acting like a massive external gill. It allows it to absorb enough oxygen from the water without ever needing to surface for air.
Let's drop down from the mountains to the Great Swamp, the Pantanal.
the world's largest tropical wetland. In the rainy season, 80% of it floods. In the dry season, it shrinks back to pools and rivers.
Yeah.
The animals here have to follow the water.
And you have to start with the capybara.
The world's largest rodent. You have to picture a guinea pig the size of a large dog. They are famously chill, very social, and semi-aquatic. They're the primary grazer of the wetlands.
And hunting them, you have the giant otter.
And these are not the cute otters you see holding hands in zoos. These are the river wolves. They can grow to be 6 feet long. They hunt in large, noisy family packs. They're aggressive enough to chase away jaguars from a kill. They're a gang.
And of course, the green anaconda.
The heaviest snake in the world, a pure ambush predator. It spends most of its time submerged in the murky water, with just its eyes and nostrils showing, waiting for a capybara or a caiman to step too close. It's all about constriction squeezing the life out of its prey.
Right, let's dry off. We're heading to the Pampas and the Cerrado, the grasslands of South America.
Very similar challenges to the Great Plains we saw earlier. Open country means speed and height are what matter.
Which brings us to the maned wolf.
The fox on stilts. It has these impossibly long, slender legs, but they aren't really for speed, they're for height. It needs to be able to see over the tall pampas grass to spot its prey, which are mostly small mice and birds.
And the giant anteater?
A truly bizarre and wonderful creature. No teeth at all. Just a long, tube-like snout and a 2-foot-long, sticky tongue. It can flick that tongue in and out of a termite mound 150 times a minute. It eats up to 35,000 insects a day.
Now for our next stop, we are leaving the mainland entirely for the ultimate evolutionary experiment, the Galapagos Islands.
About 600 miles off the coast of Ecuador. Volcanic islands isolated for millions of years. This is the place that inspired Charles Darwin to formulate his theory of evolution. It's a living museum of adaptation.
And you have to start with the marine iguana.
The only lizard on Earth that makes its living in the ocean. It's a lizard that looked at the sea and said, yeah, I can work with this. It dives into the cold Pacific water to eat algae off the rocks. But the water is full of salt.
So it's drinking salt water all day. That would kill most animals.
It swallows a lot of it with its food. To prevent kidney failure, it has evolved a way to filter the salt out of its blood into special glands in its nose. And then it sneezes.
It sneezes salt.
It violently sneezes out these white clouds of concentrated salt spray. If you see one on a rock, it often has this white crust on its head. That's all the salt it has sneezed out.
And then there's the flightless cormorant.
A bird that forgot how to fly. On the mainland, cormorants are expert flyers. But on the Galapagos, there were no land predators and plenty of fish right near the shore. Flying is incredibly expensive, energy-wise.
They would have stopped.
Over millions of generations, the wings just atrophy. They became smaller and useless for flight. But they became fantastic swimmers. It's a perfect example of use it or lose it.
Finally, we are taking a massive leap across the Pacific Ocean, all the way to the Great Barrier Reef in Australia.
The underwater rainforest, the largest living structure on Earth, visible from space.
And it is an absolute war zone down there. Let's start with the peacock mantis shrimp.
One of my favorites. This brightly colored crustacean is a boxer. Its front claws are shaped like clubs, and it punches with the speed of a .22 caliber bullet.
A bullet underwater.
It moves so fast that it boils the water around it, creating something called a cavitation bubble. So even if the physical punch misses, the shockwave from that collapsing bubble can be enough to stun or kill its prey. It can crack open crab shells and has been known to break the glass of aquariums.
And from the boxer to the homebody, the clownfish.
The orange clownfish. It lives its entire life nestled within the stinging tentacles of a sea anemone.
But the anemone stings everything else.
It does. But the clownfish has a thick coat of mucus on its body that protects it. It's a classic symbiotic deal. The clownfish gets protection from predators, and in return, it cleans the anemone and might even lure other fish in for the anemone to eat.
And let's end with maybe the simplest creature there, the giant barrel sponge.
I think that's a perfect place to end. This is an animal with no brain, no heart, no eyes, no nervous system. It just sits there, sometimes 6 feet across, filtering water for nutrients. It has been doing that, more or less unchanged, for hundreds of millions of years. Sometimes the simplest strategy is the one that lasts the longest.
Wow, what a journey. From the acoustic mapping of the great gray owl in the snow to the salt-sneezing iguanas of the Galapagos.
It really brings us right back to the central mission, doesn't it? Every single weird adaptation. The baggy skin on the frog, the long legs on the wolf, the electric shock of the eel. It's a solution to a very specific problem posed by the geography. Nature abhors a vacuum. If there is a niche, Life will find a way to fill it.
But traveling through all these specialized habitats, it also highlights their fragility, doesn't it?
It really does. That's the other side of the coin. The snail kite absolutely needs that specific snail. The polar bear needs that sea ice. Specialization is incredibly efficient, but it's also incredibly risky. If the world changes too fast, the specialist has nowhere to go. The generalist, like the coyote or the raccoon, might survive, but the master of one trade could be lost forever.
That is definitely something to chew on. So, as you go about your day, maybe look around your own backyard, your local park. There is probably a high-stakes survival drama happening in the grass right now.
There always is.
Thanks for diving in with us. We'll catch you next time.